Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into something that might surprise, maybe even shock you. We're talking about money. More specifically, the real numbers behind how the average American handles their finances. Income, savings, credit card debt, retirement accounts, and more. Now, before you think, ooh-ha, another boring finance lecture, trust me, this isn't one of those. Because once you see the stats we're about to go through, you'll probably start thinking a lot differently about your own financial situation. Let's get started. The average income isn't as impressive as you think. When people hear average income, they might think it is pretty high. But the reality, not so much. According to the latest data, the median household income in the US is around $75,000 per year. But here's the kicker. After taxes, housing, transportation, food, and everything else, there's often not much left to save. Most people are living paycheck to paycheck. In fact, studies showed that over 60% of Americans would struggle to cover $1,000 emergency without borrowing money or using credit cards. That means if the car breaks down, or if you suddenly lose your job, things could get ugly really fast. So yeah, the numbers show we might be richer on paper than in the past, but our expenses have skyrocketed. Even faster. Groceries, healthcare, childcare, you name it. Savings. What? Savings. Here's a stat that might make your jaw drop. Almost half of Americans have less than $500 in savings. Yep, you heard that right. Half the country couldn't handle a single emergency without swiping a credit card or borrowing from family. And when it comes to emergency funds, financial experts recommend having at least 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses saved up. But most people, they're nowhere close. It's not because people don't care, it's that living costs have become insane, and saving feels almost impossible for many. But then it's a reminder that the average person isn't financially prepared for surprises. Credit card debt, the silent monster. Now let's talk about something a lot of people don't like to admit. Credit card debt. The average American owes around $7,000 in credit card debt. That number keeps climbing. Some households carry even more, with balances over $10,000 or $15,000. And remember, credit cards often charge 20% or more in interest. So if you only make the minimum payment, that $7,000 could take years to pay off, and you'll end up paying double or triple what you originally spent. Here's the scary part. A lot of that debt isn't from luxuries or vacations. It's from everyday stuff: groceries, gas, medical bills, and basic living costs. People aren't living lavishly. They're just trying to survive. The retirement crisis no one talks about. Now, let's move on to something that's honestly heartbreaking: retirement savings. You'd expect most people to have a solid 401k or IRA. Right? Well, brace yourself. About 35% of Americans have zero money saved for retirement. Nothing. Not a single dollar. And even for those who do have something saved, the numbers are still rough. The median retirement account balance for people in their 40s and 50s getting closer to retirement is only around $60,000 to $100,000. Now, let's be real. $100,000 sounds like a lot, until you realize that most retirees need $40,000, $50,000 a year just to live comfortably. That means that $100,000 could be gone in just 2 or 3 years. This is why so many Americans end up relying almost entirely on Social Security, which averages about $1,900 per month. That's barely enough to cover rent and groceries in many cities. So yeah, we're looking at a full-blown retirement crisis brewing right in front of us. The hidden cost of lifestyle inflation now. Here's something subtle but powerful. Lifestyle inflation. As people earn more, they tend to spend more. You get a raise, you upgrade your car. You get a bonus, you move into a bigger apartment. It's human nature. But this pattern traps people in a cycle where no matter how much they earn, they're always broke. That's why some people making $50,000 a year feel just as financially stressed as people making $150,000 a year. Because it's not just about how much you earn, it's about how much you keep. The stats prove it. Even high-income earners, people making over $100,000 a year, often live paycheck to paycheck because of their spending habits. The average household expenses. Let's break down where all that money actually goes. According to recent data, The average American household spends about $72,000 per year. Here's roughly how it's split. Housing, around 33% transportation, 16% food, 13% healthcare, 8% insurance and pensions, 11% everything else like entertainment, clothing, and education takes up the rest. That means a third of our income vanishes just for a place to live. And since housing prices and rent have exploded in the past decade, it's easy to see why so many people can't get ahead. Even cutting back on small things like coffee or subscriptions to move the needle much when the big costs are so high. Credit scores and financial health. Okay, quick pop quiz. Do you know your credit score? The average FICO score in the US is around 718, which sounds decent. But remember, averages can be misleading. Plenty of people are in the low 600s or even lower, which can make borrowing super expensive. A low score means higher interest rates on car loans, mortgages, and even insurance. Over time, that can cost you tens of thousands of dollars. Your credit score is like a silent money partner. If you treat it right, it helps you save. If you ignore it, it slowly drains your wallet. The debt trap beyond credit cards. Credit cards are just one piece of the puzzle. Let's talk about student loans, car loans, and mortgages. The average student loan balance is now around $38,000. For younger people, that's often the biggest debt they carry. Then add in auto loans, which average around $23,000 per borrower. And you can see why debt feels endless. And mortgages, the average new home loan is now around $440,000. Combine all that, and the average American household carries over $100,000 in total debt. That's a heavy burden, and it explains why so many people feel financially stuck, even if they have good jobs. The illusion of normal. One of the most shocking realizations about all these stats is this: being average isn't actually safe. We tend to think, well, everyone else is doing the same, so it must be fine. But if the average person has no emergency fund, tons of debt, and almost no retirement savings, do you really want to be average? It's time to flip the mindset. Instead of comparing yourself to normal, aim to be better than normal. Because when it comes to money, average means vulnerable. And being vulnerable means one bad break, like a job loss or a medical emergency, could send your finances into chaos. Breaking the cycle now that we've seen how rough the average situation is, let's talk about how to avoid it. You don't have to be a millionaire to be financially secure. You just need a plan and discipline. Here are a few steps that can make a huge difference. Track your spending. Most people have no idea where their money goes. Use an app or spreadsheet to see the truth. It's eye-opening. Build an emergency fund. Start small, $500, then $1,000. Then aim for 3 months of expenses. Pay off high-interest debt first. Credit cards are financial quicksand. The sooner you get rid of them, the faster you'll breathe again. Invest early and consistently. Even small amounts grow massively over time. Compound interest is your best friend. Live below your means. It's not sexy, but it's powerful. The people who quietly save and invest are the ones who retire comfortably. Don't compare your lifestyle to others. Most people you see flashing wealth online are just as broke or broker than average. Why this matters? Here's the thing. These stats aren't meant to make you feel bad. They're meant to wake you up, because the truth is, if you can understand where the average person stands, you can make a plan to stand above it. Being financially average in America means constant stress about bills, no safety net for emergencies, a risky retirement future. But the flip side is, the bar is surprisingly low. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be a little better than the average. Save a bit more, spend a bit less, and make your money work for you instead of against you. We live in a time when everything feels expensive, and financial security seems out of reach. But the numbers also show that small, consistent habits can completely change your financial trajectory. Someone who starts saving $200 a month in their 20s could retire with over $1 million thanks to compound interest. Meanwhile, someone who waits until their 40s would have to save 5 times more to catch up. So yeah, it's not about luck, it's about time, consistency, and discipline. So let's recap. The average American lives paycheck to paycheck. Nearly half have less than $500 in savings. Credit card debt is at record highs. Retirement savings are dangerously low, and most people don't even realize how close they are to financial disaster. But here's the positive side. Now you know, you're not in the dark anymore. You can take control, make smarter choices, and slowly build real financial freedom. Because once you stop trying to look rich and start trying to be rich, everything changes. Thanks for watching, and if you found this, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs a financial wake-up call, and don't forget to subscribe for more honest conversations about money and success. Let's aim higher than average, because average is broke, and you deserve better than that.